Okay, so much of North America and Western Europe is more heavily forested and has less acid rain and better air quality now than 5 decades ago. Um, okay, so this may be due largely to policies advocated by environmentalists. It nonetheless lends credibility to the claims of people who reject predictions of imminent ecological doom and argue that environmental policies that excessively restrict the use of natural resources may diminish the wealth necessary to adopt and sustain the policies that brought about these improvements. It was a really long sentence.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with just this first part here where it says, though this may be due to this. What does this mean?
So when I see though, I think like, okay, like he's gonna say something that is gonna contradict what's above maybe.
I would actually say this first part is a concession here, right? We're kind of saying like, though this may be. Okay. And so what is this referring to?
The less acidic rain, I guess, and the air quality.
Excellent. So we're saying like, hey, the better conditions may be due to the policies advocated by the environmentalist, but it lends credibility to the claims of people who so the people that are rejecting the predictions of imminent ecological doom and argue that environmental policies that excessively restrict the use of natural resources may diminish the wealth. So what are the people that are predicting saying?
That
Not the people rejecting. Like, what are our predictions?
okay, not the people that it supports okay, so the way I saw it was that it's this like idea supports the people who are rejecting it, like their idea.
Yeah, but what is the actual, so our rejection is like, what these environmentalists are predicting is that reject predictions of, so that we're saying that like ecological doom, which essentially what people are saying here is we have to like restrict using our natural resources so much that there's going to be a diminish of wealth, and we need to have that wealth to actually be able to make improvements, right? So they're saying like, yeah, you can say that we're not going to cut down any trees, but if you do that, all the industries that are supporting all of your good causes aren't going to have any money to support you.
Right.
So we're saying this lends credibility to the claims of people who reject these predictions. So we're saying those that don't say this is happening is what we're saying that this lends credibility to. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
All right. So so that is our conclusion. So what we're saying lends credibility to the claims of people who reject this prediction. And so if we're rejecting this prediction, these are people that are saying that it is not brought about that that those wealthy things are not needed to make these improvements. So essentially, what are we trying to say made these improvements?
The policies diminish the wealth. Yep. So it would be the policies?
Yeah, well, we're saying environmental protections may have been working. However, therefore, the environmental protections may fail, essentially.
Okay.
So these environmental protections like might not be what's causing it. So that's what we have to strengthen in some way.
Okay, so then when I looked at this, so sometimes when I don't fully understand like what the subject is, right? I try to like look at the conclusion and then find a way to like I guess like strengthen, like bridge the gap between the premise and the conclusion, I guess. And I was looking for something that like supports like the dependency of wealth.
So I think where this one gets kind of confusing is we're saying that lends credibility to the claims of people who reject this, the people that argue that environmental policies diminish the wealth necessary to bring about these changes. Does that make sense? So the people that are arguing that the environmental policies were too restrictive to bring about these changes.
Right.
Okay, cool. I feel like I worded that funny when we started. So,
no,
so what would strengthen the idea that environmental policies are actually like prohibiting the money needed to make these changes?
okay, so, oh wait, so you're asking me, or should I read the
Yeah.
question?
Yep. What would strengthen that? Like, what would strengthen the idea that um, that the environmental policies restrict the companies that have the money needed to make these changes?
Um, so I'm not entirely sure.
So I'm thinking like there's no other money that can be spent to do these things.
Okay.
Would that strengthen it if there was no other money?
Yes, like if that was their only like
Source
source
of,
of,
yeah.
yeah.
So, all right, so let's go ahead and start with A and say, do you like this or leave, or sorry, like it, leave it, or hate it?
Okay. So A says nations sustain their wealth largely through industrial use of natural resources found within their boundaries. So A literally says like that their wealth is from this industry, and restricting the policies is what uh diminishes their wealth, I guess. Is that the way to say
Yeah,
it?
it's saying like, hey, yeah, they're saying that they get their wealth through using these natural resources that are within these boundaries that you're trying to restrict. Excellent.
Right.
So what were you
I
debating here?
what was that?
What were you debating between here?
So A was like my initial like, this is my answer, I'm gonna move on. But then I was like, okay, I should probably read the other ones, because I have a tendency of just like picking what I think is right and then not reading the other ones, which
No,
is a
I think
bad
it's
habit.
good. I think it's good to read them all.
Yeah, okay. So then I read them all, and then I eliminated B, C, D, and then I was stuck with E and A. E says the concern demonstrated by a nation for the health and integrity of its natural ecosystem leads to an increase in the nation's wealth. But then thinking about it, like, does the word the concern, does that matter?
The concern demonstrated by the need. I think that's just saying like the attention given, but this is actually the opposite of what we need. This is saying this increases the nation's wealth, and we're trying to say that it limits the wealth.
Right. Okay. The concern demonstrated by a nation for the health and integrity of its natural ecosystem. Yeah. Okay.
But no, I
uh,
think that can get confusing.
mhm. So yeah, like, and I picked E, and I was like, A looks right.